What if I told you that healing yourself might be the very reason someone close to you walks away? Carl Jung once revealed a truth many never want to face: your growth threatens those who are still hiding from their own pain. It sounds unfair, right? You finally start setting boundaries. You begin to treat yourself with compassion. You stop apologizing for simply existing. But instead of being celebrated, you're met with distance, resentment, maybe even silence. But here's the truth behind that discomfort. According to Jung, when you begin to heal, you become a mirror. Not just any mirror, but a reflection of what others are unwilling to confront within themselves. Their insecurities, their wounds, their avoidance. And it's not that you've become arrogant. It's not that you've changed for the worse. It's that your light is now shining on the shadows they've spent years hiding from. Have you ever noticed how the more you grow, the more uncomfortable some people become around you? That's not a coincidence. That's projection. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But most people aren't ready for that journey inward. So instead, they pull away from you. So if you've ever wondered why someone turned cold the moment you started loving yourself more, it's not your fault. You didn't break the connection. Your healing just revealed the truth. Stay with me. Because what comes next will change how you see rejection forever. Have you ever wondered why the moment you begin to heal, evolve, and live authentically, some people suddenly turn against you? Carl Jung explained it with a concept called projection. When you stop playing the role others assign to you, whether it's the nice one, the people pleaser, or the one who never complains, you become a mirror. A mirror reflecting back the parts of themselves they've denied. They don't hate you for who you are. They resent you because you reflect who they're afraid to become. And as you start setting boundaries, saying no, and no longer sacrificing yourself for others, Jung saw this as a sign of integrating the shadow. You're not running from your darkness, you're becoming whole. But that wholeness, it can be painful to witness for those still stuck in fragmentation. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your clarity threatens their confusion. Then comes what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your true self, beyond social roles and expectations. And that is deeply unsettling for others. Why? Because when you step out of the role they cast you in, it shatters their illusion. They don't actually hate the real you. They hate the fact that you're no longer pretending. You chose truth over comfort. And in doing so, you became a quiet revolution in their carefully controlled world. Let me tell you something most people aren't ready to hear. When you begin to heal, when you really start stepping out of the roles others assign to you, you don't just change your life. You threaten the system. Carl Jung called this the breaking of the collective unconscious. A shared psychological field that connects all of us, families, communities, even entire societies. It's not evil. It's not personal. It's just familiar. It's the system we all inherit and unconsciously protect. And here's the truth, this system doesn't like rebellion. When you stop perpetuating inherited beliefs, when you break the patterns of generational trauma, when you no longer tolerate dysfunction just because it's labeled tradition, you become a disruption. A necessary one. But a threat nonetheless. Ever wonder why the moment you started saying no, setting boundaries, or speaking your truth, it felt like the people around you turned against you? It's not because you became unlovable. It's because you stopped being useful to the illusion. They may say, you've changed. But let's be honest, isn't that the point? Jung explained this through the concept of the persona, the social mask we wear to fit in. Most people become so identified with this mask that they forget it's not their face. So when you remove yours, when you stop performing and start showing up as your authentic self, it doesn't just liberate you. It terrifies those still living behind theirs. To them, your change feels like a betrayal. But it's not your truth that hurts them, it's the death of the character you used to play in their script. The peacemaker. The fixer. The compliant one. The version of you who sacrificed self for harmony. You weren't loved. Your performance was. And it gets even deeper. Jung believed that every person carries within them both masculine and feminine psychological energies, animus and anima. But society teaches us to split. Men are taught to be strong, never soft. Women, soft, never strong. But when you begin integrating both, when you allow yourself to be powerful and compassionate, assertive and tender, you become whole. And that wholeness? It reflects the fragmentation others are still avoiding in themselves. Your balance exposes their imbalance. Your inner peace reveals their chaos. Your courage forces them to confront their fears. And not everyone is ready to face themselves. So instead, they blame you. But here's the radical truth. Their discomfort isn't proof that you're on the wrong path. It's confirmation that you're becoming whole. So the next time someone tells you, you've changed, smile. Breathe. And remember. You didn't change. You just came home to yourself. There's a strange threshold in the journey of psychological growth, when you suddenly become unpredictable. Not erratic, but deeply whole. Carl Jung called it the transcendent function, the ability to hold opposing forces at once, to integrate rather than suppress, to rise above duality. You become both soft and strong. Kind and firm. Loving, yet boundaried. And that's when people start feeling uneasy around you, not because you're harmful, but because you're no longer easy to control. You stop fitting into roles. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You stop participating in dynamics that ask you to abandon yourself. You become clear. And that clarity is disruptive. But this transformation comes with a cost, the loss of those who only knew how to relate to your older version. The version that tolerated too much. That stayed quiet to avoid conflict. That dimmed its light to keep peace. Your growth, your individuation, challenges the illusions they built around you. It's not the new you they hate, it's that the real you now exists. And that reality forces them to confront the masks they still wear. Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege requires sacrifice, the letting go of relationships rooted in who you were, not who you are. So if people say, you've changed, remember, it's not an accusation. It's confirmation. You've grown. And here's the deeper question, are you strong enough to keep growing, even if they stop loving you for it? Because spiritual maturity isn't just about self-love. It's about loving your truth so deeply, that you're willing to walk alone if that's what it takes to honor it. There comes a point in your inner growth when something quiet but radical happens, you begin to transcend. Carl Jung called this the transcendent function, the capacity to hold opposing truths in your psyche without collapsing into confusion or denial. And that, right there, is what makes you dangerous in the eyes of those still living in black and white thinking. You see, most people are conditioned to believe they must choose, strength or softness, boundaries or compassion, logic or emotion. But the moment you stop choosing, and start integrating, you step into something higher. You become both rooted and free. Both clear and open. Both kind and unshakable. And that psychological freedom? It terrifies people who still rely on roles, masks, and certainty to feel safe. You become unpredictable, not in a chaotic way, but in a deeply authentic way. You're no longer operating from conditioned responses. You've become your own authority. And that threatens every unexamined identity around you. But here's what Jung warned us about, that kind of truth comes at a price. The privilege of a lifetime, he said, is to become who you truly are. But that privilege often costs you the relationships that only loved the version of you who didn't know better. The version who didn't say no, who kept quiet, who made themselves small so others could feel big. When you grow out of that skin, some people won't celebrate it. They'll punish it. And that's not your fault, it's their unprocessed shadow. The pain you feel when people pull away, when they twist your growth into betrayal, when they say, "You've changed," like it's a crime, it's not evidence you've gone wrong. It's confirmation that you're finally on the path that matters. The only path that leads back to your soul. Because individuation, the process of becoming a whole and unique self, isn't just a psychological phase. It's a spiritual necessity. And yes, it makes you more you, but it also makes you more polarizing. Because people who haven't made peace with their own shadow cannot stand in the presence of someone who has. So let me ask you, are you strong enough to keep going even when you're misunderstood? Can you stay rooted when love turns into silence, when family becomes strangers, when approval is replaced by judgment? Because that's the real test, not of your worth, but of your willingness to keep becoming. The goal is not to make others comfortable. The goal is to live in truth so clear, so grounded, so unshakable, that even their rejection becomes a sacred affirmation. You are no longer playing a role in someone else's illusion. You are, finally, home. You may not realize this, but your awakening, your quiet decision to step into your truth, might just be the spark someone else desperately needs. Sometimes, all it takes is one person breaking free for others to start questioning the mask they've worn too long. So if this message stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. You never know who's silently waiting to hear these exact words at this exact moment. Healing is not a solo journey. And if you ever need help turning your insights into a full video script, a soul-stirring caption, or an SEO-optimized video description, just let me know. I'm here to help you turn your awakening into someone else's light.